Hey, Bulls and Bears, it is December 30th, 2022. Happy New Year's Eve to everyone. So, this is the evening or the day before New Year's Eve, and we're just around the corner from the new year. So, my household has been in cost saving mode, mobile phone service updated, and also some other money saving things that I just did around the house. We're going to talk about that later on in this report. But as usual, we got a lot of financial, economic news to get caught up on, and markets and more. But let's start right here. And let's begin here. Let's talk about the brutal snowstorm, especially up in the northeast part of the U.S. It's being called the blizzard of the century, a brutal blizzard. Over 50 people not surviving, over 200,000 without power. And so this is something we have to talk about. Now, first you may say, hey, JJ, what does this have to do with finance, economics? This has everything to do with finance and economics. Your household budget determines usually if you're not going to go out in the snow or if you will go out in the snow. So here's an example. One story, a young lady passed away in her vehicle, frozen, on her way back from work. So how many people would not have even went out in the snow if it weren't for being in debt, feeling the stress or the need to go to work, even though the dangers were out there? That's a big thing. Also, let's talk about the over 200,000 people without power. How many people couldn't afford to have a backup source of power? How many people could not afford a power generator or something else to give them heat during these times? Right? And I'm sure there's many people that just didn't think about it. They weren't prepared, or they weren't even in the right frame of mind to be prepared. But a lot of this comes back to financial. There's also a report, many people having problems because they're shoveling snow and maybe they're not in good shape. So they had physical problems because of that. How many people would not have shoveled snow if they didn't have to leave their house? Maybe these people were going to work. Maybe they were going to the bank to pay bills. A lot of this is financial. If people aren't financially pressured to go out in these conditions in the blizzards and on the icy roads, people normally will not do these things. Now, some people will still do it, even though it's not necessary. Also, the unprepared people probably were. I'm sure there's many of them, in this situation here that we're seeing. They were unprepared, so they had to go get whatever it was, groceries, food, water, right? So there's a preparation perspective here. There's also a financial perspective because, again, if it's a blizzard, of course, I'm in San Diego now, but I grew up in Michigan. I know all about the blizzards, the icy roads, the black ice, the snow drifts, which sometimes can reach several feet high. I know all about going out in those conditions, and I remember driving in those conditions thinking to myself, wow, I wish I could just call in sick today. But back then at that time, I felt pressured to go to the job. One, because I don't want to lose the pay, or maybe I didn't have the sick time. Or two, maybe I was just worried about losing my job, right? So you have all those things when it comes to the financial side of it that a lot of these people were thinking about when they chose to go out in this storm. And also, there are several people, and most of the people that decided to go out in these conditions or had to go out in these conditions, most of them made it back safe and sound to their homes. But it's also added stress, right? So even though you may go out in these conditions, you may make it back, it's added stress doing these things that you may not have to do if you could just sit at home knowing that you're financially secure and that you're prepared. And speaking of being prepared, I have a generator here, a backup generator. It takes both propane and fuel, and I don't have to worry about blizzards, obviously. But we do have the threat of power outages here in California, and it's not so much heat or cooling. We don't need either one of those to survive out here. It's more about keeping the refrigerators going. We have two refrigerators, one in the home, one in the garage, and keeping all the food from spoiling. I guess if there were severe temperatures out here, sometimes it gets up in the hundreds. We may use it to run a fan or something like that if the power went out. But in our case, we bought this mostly for food preservation in case of a power outage. Also, working in the financial industry, I basically talk to people all day about their household budget, their finances, and I also have contacts in the insurance industry. And what I'm finding out, a lot of people are filing claims on their home insurance because of their pipes are frozen, and that can be very expensive. If you have frozen pipes, the pipes could actually burst, and you're talking about sometimes thousands of dollars for plumbing work in your home. And not just that, you're going to be without water for sometimes several days, maybe weeks, until you can get that fixed. And they can't fix it while it's frozen either, so that causes further delays. And if you have hundreds and maybe thousands of people filing the same claim with their insurance company, you're going to see a backup on getting the home repaired, getting the claim handled. Right, so you could be talking about several weeks without water. That's why people, need to be prepared, both food and water. Yeah, a lot of frozen pipe claims based on the insurance company contact that I have. They have this tape you can put on your pipes. It's basically heat tape. You wrap it around your pipes. You plug it in. A lot of times, though, you can't do that. The pipes are in the walls or in the ground or outside the home. Actually, outside the home, you still could. But, of course, if you can't get to the pipes, you can't wrap the heat tape around the pipes. On a separate topic, Reuters, hedge funds set to mark worst returns in 14 years. I'm very sorry for you if you work for a hedge fund and if you're seeing much lower returns than you did in the past 14 years. I think it's safe to say that most of us here are not going to shed a tear for the hedge funds with the lowest returns in 14 years. Now, since the markets are closed, let's talk about how bad of a year it was for the stock market. The worst year since 2008 financial crisis. A lot of people weren't prepared for this, and it just goes to show you how leveraged the system is and how important low interest rates are. And I don't mean that should be a permanent thing, but it's just very impactful when you have a leveraged system, when growth is based on borrowing money for next to nothing. But then when that changes, when rates rise, then the growth stops and goes into reverse. And this goes back to the hedge funds also. It's much more difficult to turn a profit trading stocks when you can borrow money, when you have to borrow money at a elevated interest rate versus nearly rock bottom interest rates that we've witnessed over the past 10 or 12 years. This whole system, this whole illusion of an economic boom over the past 10 years plus is an illusion based on easy money and ultra low rates. Even the mighty Amazon got crushed this year, losing half of its value. And in fact, Bezos got knocked down in the world's richest competition. I'll say competition, because even though they're multi-billionaires, they're always competing to get more and more and more. And now Warren Buffett has surpassed Bezos in wealth. And also, don't forget, Jeff Bezos took a big loss on that divorce. Remember, he went through the big D, and the big D is not Dallas. And normally I would say that she got the gold mine and he got the shaft. But with his wealth, he still has an equivalent of a gold mine. Also, still on the topic of mega billionaires losing some of their wealth, Musk became the first person ever to lose $200 billion. Of course, we saw Tesla stock plunge. Even the Twitter stock took a big hit. Let's jump into real quick some personal finance and household budgeting items. Couple things that I switched around here lately in my life, in my household. One is cell phone provider. We switched to Cricket Wireless. And before this, we were going through Walmart Family Mobile. And it was about $40 a month per person. We have 3 people in my family with monthly plans. That was about $120, obviously, for 3 people. Went to Cricket Wireless and got a package where you get 3 lines for $90. So a bit of a savings there. And that's, in itself, it's not that much. But when you combine it with other areas, other ways of cutting back on your monthly bills, it can start to add up. And we're going to talk about something else here in a minute. But also we got new and free phones with Cricket Wireless. So for those of you thinking about switching wireless companies and you have more than one line, it's a very good bundle package. And with Walmart Family Mobile, we were stuck with calling customer service and oftentimes getting people on the phone in different countries, with language barriers and not the best service. So now we actually have a local place we can go to if we have any problems. So 1, cheaper, 2, more convenient to have a local place to go to if you have any questions or problems. All right, so Cricket Wireless, I'll let you know how the service is. Pretty good so far. We've only had them for a few days. But then back to something I discussed a couple reports ago. That's another way we save money here in my household. We switched to using the coffee Keurig cups to one of these French presses, and I'll show you guys here in a minute the French press that I use that I recommend. But this saves in many ways. The Keurig cups, they add up over time. We were paying about $20 a month for like a box of like 24 K cups is what they call them. One, they're very not environmentally friendly because you have to throw the cups away, the little plastic cups, after every use. So you're causing a lot of extra waste. Two, they're not very healthy because you're running boiling water through the cups down into the Keurig machine, also into more plastic, which is the drain part of it that goes into the pot or the cup, and you're drinking boiling a beverage that ran over plastic. The K cup one being plastic, and the actual coffee machine or the Keurig machine being plastic. So there's that part of it. There's the health side of it. But our Keurig machine that we've used, or machines with an S, plural, I say machines because they've broken down at least every couple years. We've had to buy new ones, and we're talking between $80 and $120 for a pretty good Keurig machine. It turns out they weren't pretty good because they broke down quite often, and you have to maintenance and clean them, otherwise they'll stop working. Sometimes even if you do clean them and do maintenance, they'll still stop working. So for those of you that were asking, this is a French press, and this is the equivalent of the coffee filter. You see this right here. I had to upgrade to this one here because the one that we bought initially didn't have a very good filter. It didn't filter out the coffee grounds very well. So I'll put a link down to this one down below into comments. And for those that were asking, this is how another way I'm saving money instead of buying K-cups, and it's healthier, and it doesn't run through plastic, right? So it's glass and metal filter, and this one's pretty good. I'll put my top two not K-cups. I'll put my top two French presses down there. What you do is you put the coffee grounds in, you press the filter down, and the coffee then comes up. Of course, you're going to have a lot more water in there, and the grounds are trapped at the bottom, and then the coffee that you drink, is above the filter, and you pour that out, and it separates it. So you're drinking fresh coffee, probably healthier coffee that you can buy. You can go buy organic coffee. Maybe you'll crush up or grind up your own beans. Maybe you'll buy the pre-ground coffee, but whatever the case, you could buy, healthier coffee, and it's much healthier and more environmentally friendly, and it's going to save you money. Another way we're cutting back here in our household. So I hope you guys dig that, and link down below if you want to pick up a French press. Save yourself some money and have a happier and healthier new year. And again, you help out the channel by using that link below. Thanks everybody for being here. We may talk to you before the new year. Maybe, maybe not. If not, Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks to every one of you for being here. Bye for now. Keep stacking. Big love and peace.